So we could have gone on and had another 5 or 6 phones to show you. Most smartphones behave exactly the same way. Now, these phones were all tested in areas of relatively weak signal strength, just like people have been testing the iPhone 4. And you can see that the bars go from 5 to 1, 4 to 0, 4 to 1. This is life in the smartphone world. Phones aren't perfect. And it's a challenge for the whole industry. And we're all doing the best we can. But every phone has weak spots. Most every smartphone we've tested behaves just like this when it's in a relatively weak signal area and you grip it in a certain way that's not unusual. Now, we're not perfect. We made it very visible with a little help from our friends on certain websites. What we did was X marks the spot. We went to a lot of trouble to put this really beautiful line in the stainless steel to say, here's where you touch it, everybody. You know? Might as well could have just put waved a little red flag right there. And we had incorrect bars, so that when it did drop, the drop looked far more catastrophic than in reality it was. You thought you were dropping from 5 bars to 1 bar, when in reality you were probably dropping from 2 or 3 bars to 1 bar. But we screwed up on our algorithm. By the way, some of these other phones might be being a little too liberal with their algorithms too. But that's their choice. Our choice is to put the correct algorithm in, which we've just done with a release we sent out yesterday. And hopefully that will give people a better indication of the signal strength that they're in. Their bars will still drop by a bar or 2 when they put their finger or they grip that place and just grip the phone in just the right place. And again, all smartphones seem to do that. We haven't figured out a way around the laws of physics yet. So we do a lot of testing. We've got an extremely sophisticated antenna lab. This is one of the pieces of equipment. Somebody will sit there and rotate around inside this. These are all antennas looking at the antenna reception from every angle. Again, fully automated testing, where we're testing the reception in free space. Here's our biggest room right here. Again, you have to build these rooms because if you don't shield what you're testing from all of the outside interference, you don't get accurate tests. And you can't put your equipment in the room either. The equipment's got to all be remoted outside the room. Now, this is a state-of-the-art antenna test facility. We have 17 anechoic chambers. These things are not cheap. We've invested over $100 million in our antenna testing facilities over the last 5 years. We have 18 PhD scientists and engineers on our a much larger staff, but 18 PhD scientists and engineers working in this area, and they do some very advanced antenna design. And so the iPhone antenna went through all of this. We tested it. We knew that if you gripped it in a certain way, the bars are going to go down a little bit, just like every smartphone. We didn't think it'd be a big problem, because every smartphone has this issue. So phones aren't perfect, and it's a challenge for the entire industry, and we're hoping to make some contributions to this in future years. As a matter of fact, we think we've started with this antenna, which is a more advanced antenna than ever has shipped on a smartphone before. People are reporting better reception with this antenna than they've ever seen with their smartphones before. So, what have we learned? The first thing we've learned is smartphones have weak spots. This is not unique to iPhone 4. This is a property of smartphones. They have weak spots. You can grab them in the course of normal use, and they're all different, but you will drop reception. Next, some really interesting data from AppleCare. As you know, we get very high marks in terms of customer service. Our customer service program is called AppleCare. Whenever anyone calls in for a problem, in addition to solving their problem, they're logged. We look at the statistics, and we've got the statistics on AppleCare. And we asked ourselves, what's the percent of all iPhone 4 users who have called AppleCare about issues relating anything about the antenna or reception, or anything even near antenna or reception? In other words, if you read all these articles out there, you would have thought, Jesus, at least half our customers must have called in to complain or ask questions or be angry, right? So what percent of the iPhone users have called AppleCare? Hard data, 1/2 of 1%. 1/2 of 1%, 0.55%. This data is just a few days old. 0.55%. Historically for us, this is not a large number. So this doesn't really jive with what you read about this problem. Let's keep going. So smartphones have weaknesses, and AppleCare, about 0.5% of our iPhone 4 users have called in about problems related to reception, antennas, etc. Even after reading all of these articles out there. 0.55%. The third, return rates. Like Apple, AT&T, who is the largest reseller of iPhones in the world, has a, if you will, buyer's remorse return period. And people return phones for all sorts of reasons. The reception in their area isn't what they'd hoped. They try it out, they just don't like it. The antenna doesn't work for them when they grip it a certain way. Whatever it is, no questions asked. They can return a phone, just like it to Apple. And so what are the return rates through our largest reseller of iPhone 4s? Well, what we're going to do is compare it to iPhone 3GS, because iPhone 3GS has been the best-selling smartphone in history. It's the gold standard. So in the early days of iPhone 3GS a year ago, AT&T's return rates were 6%, which is below the smartphone average. And everybody was pretty happy about that. What are they for the iPhone 4? Again, you go online and you read all these articles about it, and you'd think it must be, geez, at least half the people must be returning their phones, right? It's pretty serious. Well, we've got the data now. And the hard data says it's 1.7%. It is less than 1/3 of the return rates for the iPhone 3GS. Hard data, just a few days old. So smartphones have weak spots. About 1/2 of 1% of all iPhone owners have called AppleCare about anything related to antennas and reception. And the returns at our largest iPhone 4 reseller are 1/3 of what they were for a phone that was regarded as spectacular a year ago. Okay, pretty interesting.